Hey, well, good morning again. So glad to have you here. I'm Eric. I get to serve here as the lead pastor, and if we haven't met, I'll be out in the lobby after the service. I'd love to meet you, shake your hand, and learn your name. I just want to give a welcome to everybody in the room, welcome to everybody watching online, and if you are here for the first time, if you're a first-time guest, welcome to you. So glad that you are here, and it's been a wonderful weekend for me personally and our staff. Every year, I like to take our staff away and their spouses. They work so hard to serve you, and this is a chance for us to pour into them, for them to find some rest and to connect as one big team. So check this out. We were up at the Bryan Head Resort, and man, it was a great time of rest. I'm so glad that we can prioritize the spiritual health of our church staff, and they need this because, as you just heard, they are going to be so busy this fall, all right? So they are ready to serve you and support you and help you as you take your next steps with Jesus. Now, I have with me today a kaleidoscope. As a kid, I would get the paper version of these, and it would always break. I would always lose it. I would break it. It would fall apart. So I bought the adult version. This is brass. It's got some weight to it. And I picked one of these up. These are fascinating. I mean, on the surface, they're rather simple. There's a viewing lens here where you look through, and inside there's glass, and the light refracts as you turn this end of it. And as the light refracts, it hits the angles of all of these objects on the inside. And as you peer into something rather simple, as the light hits it from many different directions, it reveals something complex and splendid and rather beautiful. It's multifaceted, it's multicolored. And as you look at it, you can gaze into the object. And as I twist it and as I look at it, it just takes shape. It is so fascinating. The inner workings, intricate. The inner workings, complex. The inner workings revealing something that I did not know how to anticipate. And in much the same way, the cross of Christ is like this. To some, just simple. To some, maybe familiar. To some, perhaps bloody and gory. To some, very confusing. And to some, absolutely life-changing. And as we look into a kaleidoscope, something simple that reveals something intricate and complex, in this 4-week series, I want us to look at the cross and to hold it up and to look at it from many different angles, allow the light to hit it and allow it to reflect what is most meaningful in our lives, our salvation, our connection and our relationship and our enjoyment of King Jesus. And so for the next few weeks, we're gonna do just that, looking at the cross from many different angles, understanding its beauty in multifaceted ways so we can understand just what it is that Jesus has done on the cross. In week 1, we're gonna look at the purpose of the cross. That's today. In week 2, we're gonna look at the power of the cross. That's next week. Then in week 3, we're gonna look at the healing of the cross, how the cross heals us at the deepest of levels. And then in week 4, we are gonna look at the way of the cross, the cruciformed life, and what the cross means for how we should live. It's a 4-week series called Christ Crucified. I want to challenge you to be here for all 4 weeks as we talk about the meaning of the cross. Now, as Jesus hung on the cross, he said something that has attracted many people who have listened and paid attention to it, who have listened carefully. And for those who have taken it seriously, what he said on the cross has produced eternity-altering confidence. They've never been the same as they've embraced what Jesus did for them, expressed in what he said on the cross. So as he hung there, with tears in his eyes, and agony in his face, and blood running down from his body, and with power in his voice, here's what he said. John was there. John heard it loud and clear. Here's what Jesus said. When he had received the drink, Jesus said, "It is finished." And with that, he bowed his head and he gave up his spirit. He took his last breath after saying, "It is finished." Now, this is not a poetic statement. This is a victorious declaration of something that was just finished, something that was now final, something that he accomplished, something massive that he completed. And so today I want to just answer one question, and it's this question. What did Jesus finish on the cross? Another way to say it is, what did he complete? What did he accomplish? What did he do? What was he referring to when he said, "It is finished"? And by understanding the answer to that question, we will understand what he has done for each of us. Now, regardless of what you think the answer to that question might be, and in a room this size with hundreds and hundreds of people, surely we are all over the place in our understanding of that question and our answer to that question, and that is okay. Regardless of what you think, you should know this, that in the first century, the first Jesus followers talked about the cross continually. It was central to them. It was crucial for them. The centrality and the cruciality of the cross, it was everything to them. Let me show you some of this. In 1 Corinthians chapter 1, the Apostle Paul, he says this, "But we preach Christ crucified." Like, Paul, what's the main thing? Paul, what's your message? Paul, what are you talking about? What are we communicating loudly and clearly throughout this Roman world? What is it? Simple, 2 words, Christ crucified. And he says, a stumbling block to Jews, because a Jewish person thought of anybody that would be crucified, anybody that would hang on a cross as cursed of God, not the one that would bring the salvation of God to the world. So it was a stumbling block to the Jews. But what was it to the Gentiles? Everybody else, it was foolishness. Because the person that would hang on the cross, they were designed to hang there, to be a slow death, to humiliate and to dishonor and to shame. No one special could possibly die on a cross. It was Rome's most painful torture and execution device. And so, of course, the Gentiles, it's foolishness to them. But to those whom God has called, both Jews and Greeks, all types of people, Christ, the power of God and the wisdom of God. Let's look at chapter 2. Look what Paul says in chapter 2 of 1 Corinthians. "For I resolved to know nothing while I was with you, except Jesus Christ and him crucified. How did I want to live my life? What did I want to be known for? What did I want to talk about? What did I want to embrace? What did I want to reflect upon? What was it? I resolved to know nothing while I was with you except Jesus Christ and him crucified." In 1 Corinthians chapter 15, Paul gets to the end of the letter. He says this, "What I received, I passed on to you as of first importance, that Christ died for our sins according to the scriptures." That he died. Let me pass that on to you as of first importance. It's so important that you know this. It's so important that you get this, Corinthians. And perhaps you're thinking, this just sounds like a Paul thing. Maybe Paul just really liked talking about this. No, that's a Peter thing too. Peter's one of the first followers of Jesus. He doubted, he struggled. He was a coward at times. And he says this in his letter to Jesus' followers, 1 Peter chapter 3, "For Christ also suffered once for sins, the righteous for the unrighteous, to bring you to God. He was put to death in the body, but made alive in the spirit." Put to death in the body. So over and over and over again, the New Testament writers, they anchor their hope, they anchor their identity, they anchor their forgiveness, they anchor their salvation in this event in the first century, the cross. Let's fast forward about 200 years. 200 years into the movement, people were talking about the cross. It was a symbol that meant everything to them. Tertullian, now, by the way, Tertullian, if you're in Utah and you're looking for a baby name and you want a real Utah name, Tertullian, let's bring it back. It's gonna make a comeback. Tertullian was an apologist. He was a church leader. Here's what he said in about 200 AD. "At every forward step in movement, at every going in and out, when we put on our clothes and our shoes, when we breathe, when we sit at table, when we light the lamps on couch, on seat, and all the ordinary actions of daily life, we trace upon the forehead the sign of the cross." The cross was the sign. It was the symbol that meant so much to them. Whatever you think about it, it was central, it was crucial to this movement called Christianity. And now fast forward to our day and age. And some of you have crosses around your necks. The Romans would be shocked by that. And some of you have crosses tattooed on your bodies and crosses hanging in your homes and crosses on your apparel, on your clothing. I mean, it's a symbol that means so much to people. Why? Because of what he finished, because of what he accomplished. And you know this, movements have symbols. Communities have symbols. Buddhists have the locust. Marxists, the hammer and the sickle. Let's see. Islam, the crescent moon. McDonald's, the golden arches. Like, you get it. Movements have symbols. But why this one? Why this one? This picture of execution and torture. What has happened to cause this thing to be in our parking lot and to be on our bodies and to be the main thing? Well, it's because of what he accomplished. And so in order to answer the question of what did he finish, I want to get us ready with a different question, a question that we can all relate to, a question we have all asked, a question we all want an answer to. And it's this question right here. What must happen in the world to make things right in this world? That question matters to you. Regardless of what you believe, you know that some things in this world and some things in your world and in your life just aren't right. And we want some things to be better. And if you want that, you have a longing deep inside of you for things in this world to be made right. What can fix what's wrong in this world? And as you look at culture, you see what I see. We spend more money than ever before trying to make things right, and it's maybe not working, probably not. More technological advancements than ever before, more sexual freedom than ever before, more educational opportunities than ever before. And yet it still seems that things aren't right yet. And we long for things to be right. And that longing, we could describe it as this. It's the longing for atoning. The longing for atoning. That's what we are longing for. If you grew up in religion, perhaps you've heard the word atonement, or with the definite article in front of it, the atonement. And perhaps it was confusing, or perhaps it never clicked, or you didn't really know what it was about, but at the deepest level, we all long for that. Because here's a definition of atonement. It's to make right what's wrong. It's to make right what's wrong. And you would like things that are wrong to be made right. And you'd like something to take away the wrong, cover up the wrong, address the wrong, and deal with the wrong so that we can experience something that is right. We all have a longing for atoning. And the reason that Christians have placed the cross, this event, as the centerpiece of their lives is because that was the event that made right what is foundationally wrong. That's why the cross has become the main thing. And what Jesus did there, it's the main thing. Because there, he made right what was wrong. I want to show you that today. Let me summarize it and get us prepared to see it in Romans chapter 5. What happened there is he has made right what is foundationally wrong. At the deepest of levels, the thing that is foundationally wrong in this world is we are separated from the God who made us, loves us, and knows us. And every other wrong flows downstream of that wrong, that we have been separated from him because of our rebellion. And something had to happen to make things right. And Jesus did just that on the cross. And the reason that he said it is finished is because he atoned for us. He made right what is wrong in us. And now, moving forward as his people, with his spirit living in us, we are able to live differently and see his kingdom come, his will be done, and build a world the right way, in a way that honors him. Now, I want to show you all of this, but first I want to prepare us with 4 key realities. 4 things that I think you already believe. 4 things that you know already. And then I want to show you how Jesus is these 4 things. Here's the first. Every problem calls for a specific solution. I mentioned a few weeks ago that we came home from our vacation, our summer vacation, and the HVAC unit in the Nelson household was out. It was about 86 degrees in our home. And I got down there, and I got on YouTube, and I rolled up my sleeves, and I was like, I'm gonna fix this. I couldn't. Because it was a specific problem that called for a specific solution with a specific skill set and a specific qualification that I did not have. So I called an HVAC specialist. It turns out one of these power surges in Utah, because too many people live here, there's not enough power, the power shorted my HVAC unit. Like the motherboard was fried and the motor was blown. I needed a specific part installed by a specific person who had specific training and a specific qualification to fix my specific problem. Every problem calls for a specific solution. Here's the second thing I think you already know. Every offense creates a debt. Every offense creates a debt. Over the summer vacation, I took the kids golfing. Carissa has picked up the game. That's been good for our marriage. And so Carissa's playing golf, and the kids are playing golf, Nora and Jack. And if I'm playing with them, I'm just the caddy, all right? They call me the daddy caddy. Another nickname in the Nelson household, they call me the tatty daddy, all right? So anyways, the tatty caddy daddy was playing golf. And we were on this par 3, and I had the bags, but I was a little bored. And I said, Jack, give me your club, bud. It's like this big. It's a kid's club. He's 10. And he hands it to me. I'm a lefty, he's a righty, and I set up to the T. Getting ready. By the way, anybody see Happy Gilmore 2? Yeah, all right, never mind. All right, so we're playing golf, and I have Jack's little club, and I take it back. And I hit a dead pull this way, all right? I'm a lefty playing righty with my kids' clubs. It's a foolish idea. And as the ball is just sailing right over here, and there's this beautiful 2-story home overlooking the Pacific Ocean. Window. I'm like, kids, you're not going to college because I'm gonna have to fix that house, you know? There goes the college account. And the ball just sails, and I'm like, no. It hit the front door, boom. And I looked, and it didn't leave a mark, and I was like, kids, come on, let's get out of here. And we kept playing. Listen, I'm so thankful there was no damage. But if there was, my offense would have created a debt. Either they would have had to have paid, or I would have had to have paid. You know this, every offense creates a debt. And you take the pain on yourself, or they pay you back. But either way, every offense creates a debt. That's the second reality I want you to understand. The third reality is this: every sacrifice is a substitution. It's me in your place. It's me for you. Every sacrifice is a substitution. Nora's racing her mountain bike, and she has practice at 6 a.m. So the wake-up call in the Nelson household is 5:15 a.m. And I like to wake up early, but that's like a little too early. And so my wife and I, we like rock, paper, scissors to see who's taking Nora to mountain bike practice. But sometimes she says, I'll go for you. I love when she says that. I'll go for you. And sometimes I say, hey, you get a few more minutes of sleep, I'll go for you. And that act of sacrifice, isn't it a substitution? Every sacrifice is substitution. Me in your place, because I love you. Love at its core is a substitution. I will do it. I will carry it. I will lift it so that you do not have to. And here's the fourth key reality. Every death is penalty. Every death is penalty. When death shows up in your world, when it touches your life or touches your family's life, it stings. It hurts. It's penalty. Death is the penalty. We actually see this in Genesis chapter 2. We see this in Genesis 3. We see it in the Old Testament book of Leviticus. We see it in our world today. Death is penalty for the one dying, and death is penalty for the ones living and saying goodbye. Death is penalty. So for a moment, let's put this all together. Embedded into our human experience are these four things: truth. Specific problems need specific solutions. Not just anything will do. We need the truth. Embedded into our world is justice. Every offense creates a debt. Justice, the punishment should fit the crime. And when justice happens, it is satisfying. When injustice continues, we are dissatisfied. Justice satisfies longings inside of us. The third thing embedded into our world is love. Every sacrifice, substitution. And the fourth thing embedded into our world is evil. Death comes, and death is penalty. Now, with all of that in mind, can I read to you Romans 5? With all of that in mind, I want to read Romans 5 and show you how those four realities are addressed and met most convincingly in the death of Jesus. So here we go, Romans 5. You can follow along on the screen. You see, at just the right time, this is planned, this is orchestrated, this is God's intent. At just the right time, something needed to happen. A specific problem requiring a specific solution, and at just the right time, the solution has arrived. When we were still powerless, Christ died for the ungodly. Died for. Throughout this text, we're going to see the word for, F-O-R, used over and over again. It shows intent. It shows connection. It shows how things are related. It's a bridge showing us Jesus for us. Holy in the place of unholy. Righteous in the place of unrighteous. Godly in the place of ungodly. There's a substitution taking place. One for the other. Verse 7, very rarely will anyone die for a righteous person, though for a good person, someone might possibly dare to die. When someone gives their life for someone else and we say they paid the ultimate price, there was a payment, one in place of the other. Someone paid with their death so that another could receive their life. Paul's connecting all of these realities that we already know exist. Very rarely will anyone die for a righteous person, though for a good person, someone might possibly dare to die. But God demonstrates his own love for us in this. His love for us in this. While we were still sinners, Christ died, and there's that word again, connecting these ideas for us. It was for us. Since we have now been justified by his blood, how much more shall we be saved from God's wrath through him? I'll circle back to this in just a moment, but every death is penalty, and blood is proof that penalty has happened. Blood is a symbol, it's a token that someone has actually died. And so when blood is described, it's described to connect us to penalty, but to payment. Okay? I'll circle back to this idea of wrath in just a moment. Verse 10, for if while we were God's enemies, we were reconciled to him through the death of his son, how much more, having been reconciled, shall we be saved through his life? Not only is this so, but we also boast in God through our Lord Jesus Christ, through whom we have now received reconciliation. I want to talk about a boast for just a brief moment. Religion, if you've been in church for any amount of time, religion often says boast in your performance and boast in your behavior. Now, the gospel invites us to change our boasting. We boast in Jesus now. Not ourselves, not our work, not our behavior. We boast in him. So that's Romans 5. And what Paul has just done is he's connected all of those realities in this one moment, Jesus on the cross. Let me break it down. I'm going to read it so we have it as clearly as possible. The specific problem is humanity rebelled against God. We chose peace with our enemy and enmity with our Creator. That is rebellion. See, sin is not just this bad influence in our lives that should be dealt with, or we need just a little more education to educate us out of what we've gone through. It's rebellion that deserves a punishment. And that offense, rebelling against the God of life, creates a debt. It's the debt of death. Death is not an arbitrary ruling. It's the just consequence for rebelling against the God of life. And then blood, of course, is a symbol that the payment has been made. And when blood is spilled, someone or something is paid with their life. So what did Jesus finish when he said, it is finished? Atonement. He has made right what was wrong. And there was no other way to pay. It couldn't happen through his earnest feelings. It couldn't happen through him going through some tough stuff. It had to happen through his death and his death alone, because it satisfies justice. And in the cross, we see God's infinite holiness. And in the cross, we see his infinite love connected all at once. Now, I want to break this down and describe two different realities for a moment. I want to talk about the difference between mechanics, how something works, and mechanism, or meaning, what something does. So we understand the mechanics of a kaleidoscope, and we also understand what it does as you stare into it. You see color, you see pattern. It refreshes itself. It's compelling. It's kind of exciting. If you're nerdy like me, kind of exciting. We understand the difference between mechanics and mechanism. I have a brother-in-law who's an engineer. Engineers in the room, raise your hand. Engineers? Yeah, you're like, this guy barely understands mechanics. My brother-in-law is an engineer. He's one of these guys that understands how things work, and he can fix anything. We were staying at his place over the summer, and his sliding door on his house was not sliding well. And he was like, I wonder if I can fix it. I'm like, probably not. I think you got to buy a new house. That's how you get a new slider. And he's like, no, I got the bearings, and I got the grease, and I got the wheels, and I can take care of it. He knows how things work. And so he tears it all apart, puts it back together. It is the best sliding door I have ever seen. All I know is that it slides. He knows how it works. I think for many Jesus followers, we spend a lot of time over here. We know we're loved. We know we are forgiven. We know somehow it happened on the cross. We know that something was placed into our account. Something was taken out of our account. And now we can be in a right relationship with God. Great. We're going to talk about the multifaceted meaning of salvation next week. It is like a diamond. From so many angles, we see what Jesus has done. But for a moment, I want to talk to the engineers in the room about mechanics and all of us. I want to talk about the mechanics of atonement for just a minute. There's three words that we have to understand. And when we do, it'll add a depth of understanding and appreciation and confidence to salvation over here. So here are the mechanics of atonement. The first is this word, propitiation. Propitiation. Now, I just want to make sure you're with me here at the middle service. Let's say it on three. Propitiation. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you're like, that was weird. Why are we chanting big words in church? Propitiation, it means wrath satisfied. wrath satisfied. If you're a parent, you know that you get angry when your kids hurt themselves and hurt each other and are hurt by others. You experience some wrath. Anger rises up because of love. Because of love. And when justice is doled out, it satisfies because justice is right. And in much the same way, if God were to allow an injustice to continue, he would not be a good God. He would not be a just God. He would actually be denying himself. And that is something in which he cannot do. In Romans 5, we see that wrath was satisfied because justice was upheld. Romans 5 says it like this. We read it once. I'll read it again. Since we have now been justified by his blood, how much more shall we be saved from God's wrath through him? Justice has been satisfied because Jesus paid the appropriate penalty. The next word I want you to know is expiation. Let's just say this together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it means sin removed. If you were to read the Old Testament, you would see some incredible moments, the symbolism for Old Testament Israel of what it would take for the sin to be removed from the community. There'd be an animal, often called the scapegoat. In Leviticus chapter 17, you could read about it, that would be sent off into the wilderness as a picture that your sin has been taken away. People will lay their hands on animals, and that laying on of the hands was a valid substitution. It said, my sin to them now. In Leviticus 17, we read this, for the life of a creature is in the blood, and I have given it to you to make atonement for yourselves on the altar. It is the blood that makes atonement for one's life. Why? Why couldn't it have been anything else? Because death is the penalty. It's the just consequence. It is the punishment that fits the crime for a rebellion against the God who gave you life. Okay? One more word. Here we go. Imputation. Everybody say imputation on 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, imputation. Imputation means righteousness credited. If expiation is something has gone from my life, imputation is something's been placed into my life. And that is a righteous standing with God. It's the righteousness of Jesus, his performance, not mine, that has now been placed into my life. And I can be in a right relationship with a right God. Imputation had to happen. Expiation, something gone. Imputation, something placed into my account. Only Jesus could save us because only a sinless substitute could be the proper sacrifice. God gave himself. It had to be God, but it also had to be a person to take a person's place. Fully God, fully man. It's the only way atonement could have happened, and that's exactly who Jesus is. We see this in 2 Corinthians. God made him who had no sin to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. God did it. He had to do it. It's the great exchange. Jesus took what I deserve so I can have what only he deserves. John Stott is a British pastor, thinker, and author, has a large book called The Cross of Christ. I'd recommend it. And in the book he says this, I did it. My sin sent him there. He did it. His love took him there. And only in the cross do we see justice upheld. Jesus' death was mandatory. And in the cross, we see love upheld. Jesus' sacrifice was voluntary. See, a lot of people at this point would push back. I've heard it said this way before. What kind of ritualized butchery is this? I've heard it said this way. This is like cosmic child abuse, that some father punishes an innocent son because he's angry and just can't get over it. What's going on with all of that? Jesus takes us through that. Jesus said something, John recorded it, that helps us understand exactly what was happening. It wasn't abuse. Jesus gladly went to the cross for the joy set before him. And Jesus is fully God. It's not some father-son relationship type of thing. When we say son, we mean essence of. It's a place inside of a relational God, a Trinitarian God. Jesus, we should take him seriously. Here's what he said about going to the cross. The reason my Father loves me is that I lay down my life only to take it up again. No one takes it from me. I lay it down on my own accord. I have authority to lay it down and authority to take it up again. This command I received from my Father. So Rome put him to death at a Jewish request, but Jesus allowed it because of love. Octavius Winslow was a preacher in the 1800s. Here's what he said. Who delivered Jesus to die? Not Judas for money, not Pilate for fear, not the Jews for envy, but the Father for love. And at this point, I just want you to take this in personally. He did it for you. to make right what's wrong in you, to reconcile you to the one who made you and loves you. And Jesus, with his death, paid in full your debt of death in your place. He took what we deserve, and now we receive what only he deserved, a righteous record before our holy God. And in the cross, we see his holiness infinite, his love infinite as well. There is nothing like that. And that is why the cross has become the central symbol, the crucial symbol for Jesus followers around the globe for over 2,000 years. What does the cross mean to you? May it mean today that he has finished atonement on your behalf. And when someone takes your place like that, do you know how it changes you from the inside out at the deepest level? When someone takes your place, you are transformed by their sacrifice. And may we say what Paul said, 1 Corinthians 2, I resolved to know nothing while I was with you except Jesus Christ and him crucified. So the mechanics of the cross of Christ, a bit like a kaleidoscope, maybe simple, maybe something we would look over, but now we know how it works, the mechanics of Jesus' death. And now we experience the meaning of his death, salvation, justification, reconciliation, redemption. But that is all next week. I want you to have this bottom line. Here it is. Penal substitution based on penalty, is the means of salvation that allows us to experience the meaning of salvation. One is mechanics, the other mechanism. Substitution is not just one theory. It's the foundation, the singular method by which atonement is accomplished. And salvation can be made possible to everyone. So here's what I want to do as we wrap up. I want to do something that I don't do often, but I really want to do today. Something that we did in first service and we will do in this service. If you have never asked Jesus to remove your sin and to replace that status with his righteousness, I want to invite you to do that today. It's the most serious decision you could ever make. No manipulation, no emotionalism, no hype. Just an honest declaration that Jesus, I get it now. The cross is going to be central for me. So in a moment, I'm going to pray. I'm going to pray in the first person. And you just quietly pray along with me if you'd like. And trust Jesus to atone for you, to make right what is wrong at the deepest level with you. When we get to the end of that prayer, I'm going to ask you to keep your eyes closed. I'm going to ask you to shoot up your hand if you prayed that prayer, because I want to know that you did. In the lobby today, we have an I Said Yes to Jesus bag. In it is a Bible, a journal, and a reading plan for you to walk with Jesus in his word for your first 7 days with him in relationship. And then come back next week as we talk about the richness of a salvation that you can receive today. After we do that, Ben's going to lead us in a song. We're going to take communion in the middle of it. And we're going to celebrate what God's doing in people's lives, saving them today. Let's pray. Jesus, I admit there is something wrong with me. And now I know that thing is my sin. I have stood in rebellion against you, and I am guilty. But Jesus, you took my guilt. You paid my penalty. Today I agree with you that that's what had to happen. And now I receive into my life your righteousness as a gift. And now I know I can be right with God. I trust that you saved me because you said that you would. So I've placed my faith in you in this service today. Thank you for saving me and loving me and dying for me. I say yes to you today. If you prayed that prayer, would you just raise your hand so I know that you did? Yeah. Keep them up. Thank you. Thank you. Jesus, these hands are for you. You see everybody's hand in this room, and they have stepped from death to life, with you now. What a glorious moment in their lives. Jesus, walk with these people. Your Spirit has now filled these people. They are your people now. So many in the room have experienced that too. And we just want to say thank you. In your name, Jesus, we pray. Amen.